Hello and welcome to In the Crime Light. Today we're going to be looking at 3 cases of missing children. Story 1, the baby who went missing from a car. Story 2, the boy who disappeared in Portugal 11 years before Madeleine McCann. And story 3, the schoolgirl who never came home. Ames Glover, born on the 21st of August 1989, to father Paul Glover, aged 27, originally from Ghana, and mother Shanika Ondaji, 22, originally from Sri Lanka. They married in September 1989, just 1 month after the birth of Ames, but the marriage was a turbulent one, and 3 months after the birth of their son Ames, and 2 months after marriage, the couple separated and moved to separate homes, with Shanika moving into a hostel in Greenford with the baby. When baby Ames was 2 months old, the baby went missing, but was discovered 10 hours later at a relative's house. No other information was given on this incident, but due to the turbulent relationship of the parents, baby Ames was put on the at-risk register by social services. Shanika also claimed that Paul was very jealous and wouldn't let her have a life of her own. On Saturday the 3rd of February 1990, Shanika had an asthma attack at home and rang Dad Paul to come and get the baby. Baby Ames was due to be brought back to his mother's home the next day on the Sunday, but Dad Paul called Shanika to ask if he could keep the baby for one more day, which Shanika reluctantly agreed to. At approximately 6 p.m. on Monday the 5th of February 1990, Paul had been on his way to Shanika's house to bring baby Ames back when he decided to stop off at a cash point, leaving 5-month-old baby Ames in his car, a blue Ford Sierra, by himself. Paul parked his car on the junction of Hamilton Road and South Road in Hounslow and locked the door, leaving baby Ames inside. He went to a Lloyd's cash machine and withdrew £10, but then decided to get a takeaway, and so went into the Quality restaurant to order. Paul claims that he was only gone for 20 minutes, but upon his return to the car, was horrified to discover that baby Ames was not there, but the car door was still locked. Paul claims that he then ran up and down the road, frantically searching for his son, before going into Hamilton estate agents to call the police. Police began an investigation into the disappearance of baby Ames Glover and brought both parents to the police station for questioning. Dad Paul claimed he'd done nothing wrong, whilst Mum Shanika was distraught.
Please give back to me soon. That's all I'm asking of you.
During a press conference for the missing baby, Mum Shanika broke down, whilst Dad Paul refused to have anything to do with the media. During the press conference, it was revealed that Shanika was pregnant with twins. Upon investigations, police discovered that the lock on the car door that Dad Paul insisted he had locked was not broken, so wondered how the perpetrator had gotten into the car to steal baby Ames, as there was no sign of any damage to the car or a break-in. Furthermore, the junction that Paul had parked his car on was a very busy high street, but not one person could corroborate his story of seeing him frantically running down the road in search of his son. Passers-by remember seeing Paul's car parked because they said it was parked half on the pavement and in an awkward way, blocking pedestrians. Passers-by also said that they remember seeing Paul get out of the car, but they do not recall ever seeing a baby. Shanika claims that the police told the media that baby Ames was on the at-risk register, and that's the fact that the media chose to focus on the most. She criticised the media for focusing more on the baby being on the at-risk register than actually finding him. Shanika claims that the disappearance of her son did not get as much coverage as it should have because the baby was from a broken home and because of racism, with journalist Philip Hensher saying It's harder to make a good story out of a missing black child than out of one with blonde hair and blue eyes. Police continued their investigations and said that there was no sign of a baby ever being in the car that day. And so they brought the father Paul back to the police station for more questioning. Paul became the prime suspect, and Shanika started to suspect Paul of having something to do with the baby's disappearance too. But due to lack of evidence, Paul was released. At 3 months pregnant, Shanika ended up losing the twins and became very depressed. Shanika's weight dropped to 6 stone and she attempted suicide twice. Shanika also claimed that only a mad woman takes babies, and if she is mad, how will she look after my son? A reconstruction of the day the baby went missing was set up, with PC Hadley standing in for the father Paul during the reconstruction, as Paul wanted nothing to do with the media. On Wednesday the 28th of February 1990, a call came into the police saying that baby Ames had been found alive and well and living 160 miles away in Grimsby. A couple named John and Diane Booth, owners of Vivarium Fish World, had privately fostered a baby boy called Michael, the same age as Ames, the weekend after baby Ames had been snatched. They claimed that they were not allowed to foster a child through social services, so they went into private fostering where they received baby Michael. They had heard on the news about the disappearance of baby Ames and spoke about how similar the baby Michael looked to Ames and had their suspicions. They were reported to the police, and the police drove baby Ames's parents up to Grimsby to try and identify whether it was their child. They, along with baby Michael, were taken to a police station for the baby to be identified. But Ames' parents said that as soon as they saw baby Michael, it was not their son. Feeling defeated, they were driven back home to London. Tip-offs began coming into the police station, with witnesses claiming to have seen a well-built black woman aged around 23 with straight black short hair curled at the ends and wearing bright red lipstick getting on the number 207 bus at the Broadway Southall opposite Acton police station, not far from where baby Ames went missing at around 10 p.m. The woman was said to have been carrying a child but had no pram. On Tuesday the 5th of June 1990, a woman rang the Portia Trust charity claiming that she had baby Ames but that he was ill. She then hung up before any information could be ascertained, and the charity made a public appeal for her to call again, but she never did. Another caller called into a hotline claiming that she had baby Ames, but she was not giving him back, before also hanging up, before any more information could be ascertained, and also never calling back. Police also received a tip-off from a member of the public of a baby being buried in the back garden of the house the father Paul had been living at, and police launched a massive search of the garden with helicopters with heat-seeking equipment, but no body was ever found. The Daily Mirror took on the story and offered a £5,000 reward for any information leading to the whereabouts of baby Ames. "13 years later, in 2003, the investigation into the disappearance of Ames was reopened, with a £10,000 reward for any information. Superintendent Gordon Briggs said, "We need to prosecute those who know and hope that old allegiances will not be the same and people will come forward and tell the truth." Ames' mother, Shanika, said, "I only have a few photos of him. It's getting hard to remember." On a phone line that was set up for the public to call through with information, an African-sounding man left a voice message on the answering machine claiming that Ames had been taken out of the country to Ghana. The police appealed for the African man to call back. And based on information given in this answer machine message, the police travelled to Ghana and did a DNA test on 2 Ghanaian men. But it was a fruitless inquiry and nothing was ever gained from it. Mum Shanika said, "Although I have tried to move on, there will always be a part of me that cannot. I need to know what happened to Ames, and I know that someone has that nugget of information that would help the police. I would ask them to come forward. I don't care if it's good or bad, I just need to know. Sometimes I see young boys in the street, and I can't help but wonder if one of them is Ames. I have lived in the hope that one day I will find out where he is or what became of him." 33 years after the disappearance of baby Ames Glover, he has never been found. If alive today, Ames Glover will be 33 years old. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Ames Glover, please call police on 0207 230 5311. Renee Hussey, born in Elsdorf, Germany in 1990, to parents Andreas Hussey and mother Anita, a 37-year-old postal worker. Renee's parents had divorced and his mother Anita had moved on with a new partner called Pete. On July the 19th, 1996, Renee's mother Anita and his stepfather Pete decided to go on holiday to Algeciras in Portugal, just 25 miles and an hour's drive from Praia de Luz on the Atlantic coast of the Algarve. The plan was to drive down to the Portuguese coast from Germany in a camper van, which is a day's drive, and so that is what they did. The family was enjoying their holiday, and on Midsummer's Day, June the 21st, 1996, the family went to a beachside restaurant for a meal. The restaurant was along Amarira Beach, also known as Praia de Amarira. Praia de Amarira is described as a beautiful place and a surfer's paradise due to the waves at high tide. It was around 6 p.m. in the evening, and after eating a meal of calamari and fries at the restaurant, the family decided to take a stroll down to the beach. And being the curious and excited 6-year-old, Renee ran on ahead of his parents to get to the beach first. His mother Anita says that Renee was only around 3 meters in front of them. They lost sight of him when he suddenly vanished, and his mother said that all they could find on the beach was a pile of the clothes he was wearing lying on the beach. The family claims that Renee's footprints in the sand just came to an abrupt stop in the middle of the beach. Frantically panicking, Renee's mother contacted the Portuguese police, but she said they were not interested. They took information but didn't bother searching for Renee, saying that he'd most likely drowned. It would be 2 days before the Portuguese police did anything. But then they called off the search after a few days, claiming that Mom Anita had not paid attention to her son and the boy had ran into the sea and drowned. But nobody had ever washed up on shore, and an expert said that the waves that the beach is notorious for and popular with surfers for should have brought back Renee's body if he had drowned. The family insist that Renee would have never gone into the sea alone, with his grandma, Irmgard Burback, saying that Renee was terrified of the waves. Renee's father, Andreas, says that Renee was a careful child who would not have easily climbed into the sea. There was no publicity in Portugal around the disappearance of Renee Hussey, so the family decided to take matters into their own hands to try and find Renee. Grandad Franz came down from Germany to help Mum Anita look for his grandson, as did Dad Andreas. And together, the family stuck up missing posters and spoke to witnesses. They also hired divers, with another expert saying that the weather conditions on the day Renee disappeared were not sufficient enough to have pulled him into the sea, and the tide was too low. 11 years later, Madeleine McCann also went missing in Portugal, in Praia de Luz. Renee's father, Andreas, received a call from the police stating that they were reopening the investigation into the disappearance of his 6-year-old son 24 years earlier. Following on from the disappearance, Madeleine McCann, a 3-year-old girl, had gone missing in Praia de Luz 17 years earlier in May 2003, and they had been looking at a suspect, a prolific paedophile and convicted rapist, Christian Bruckner, who was being looked into as a suspect for the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. The police had decided to open up and reinvestigate all the suspicious disappearances of children in Portugal. And in 1996, when Renee Hussey had gone missing, Christian Bruckner was a then 19-year-old living in a remote village in a camper van in Praia de Luz, and had been convicted over the years of sexual offences against children. He had moved from Germany to Praia de Luz in 1995, a year before Renee's disappearance. Christian Bruckner was described by neighbours as unfriendly and an angry man who always sped through the streets in his car. Scotland Yard investigators set up an investigation operation called Operation Grange, where it was revealed that there were 26 attempted child abductions in the area. Eyewitnesses report that there was a weird man lurking around apartments and impersonating an orphanage donation collector for orphanages that did not exist. Renee's dad, Andreas, also believes that Madeleine McCann's case and his son's case are both linked. The family do not believe that Renee ran into the sea and drowned, but that he was abducted, possibly by the same person or persons that took Madeleine McCann. It has been 26 years since the disappearance of Renee Hussey, and he has never been found. The family say that Renee's disappearance has destroyed their lives, with Renee's mum, Anita, being unable to work. Anita's mother, Irmgard, says that her daughter Anita still dreams of her son. Anita has since given birth to another son called Guido, but the family say they will never get over the loss of Renee, and a picture of Renee hangs in every room in their house, and the family have been going to Portugal every year since they lost Renee to search for him. Dad Andreas says, "Renee was a lovely boy, my first child, and I will never get over what happened. I think of him every day and imagine what sort of man he would have become and what we would have done together. If alive today, Renee Hussey would be 33 years old." Sasha McLeish, born December 1990 to mother Avril Clark and father Dave in Luton, Bedfordshire. Sasha also attended Denby High School. On the morning of Friday the 23rd of June 2006, 15-year-old Sasha got ready for school and left out at 8 a.m, telling her mother Avril not to worry about her being late home as she was going to the after-school dance club. Later on that evening, when Sasha had not come home, her mother went looking for her, and it was discovered that she hadn't turned up to her after-school dance club. In fact, she hadn't even been to school that day. but she had gone to a fair with friends and was last seen walking home at 10 p.m. Police were called and a search was launched for the missing schoolgirl. Sasha's mum said about her ordeal, "It's a horrible nightmare. I can't understand why this has happened." It was later discovered by police that Sasha had a secret boyfriend who lived in Harlesden, northwest London, and it was believed that the day of her disappearance, Sasha had travelled to Harlesden to meet up with this secret boyfriend. In October 2006, 4 months after the disappearance of Sasha, a nationwide campaign was set up to put the faces of missing children on the back of engineering company Encore's vans, with the link to a missing children's website, www.missingkids.co.uk. More than 95% of children who go missing are usually found within 2 days. Most of them are runaways. Less than 3% of missing children are abducted, as abduction, although it does happen, is very rare. 75% of the missing children cases that are posted online result in the child being found alive. If a child is missing for more than a fortnight, the case gets passed on to Scotland Yard, with children in care being at a higher risk of going missing, with 1 in 10 children in care being reported missing, compared to 1 in 200 who are not in care. Children in care are 6 times more likely to be reported missing, and 80% of missing children are found within 24 hours. Only 2% are reported missing for longer than a week. Encore had started putting pictures of missing children on its vans, and 4 months after Sasha had gone missing, the family was worried sick as she was still missing. A major initiative was launched called Kid Safety in October 2006, where posters were put up of missing children, and Sasha's mother participated in a photo campaign next to the poster of her missing daughter to try and help make the public aware. This was to be a success, as Avril was reunited with her 15-year-old daughter.